Have you ever felt like the universe is trying to tell you something, but you're just not sure what? Maybe you've had strangers approach you out of nowhere, spilling their deepest secrets like you're some kind of spiritual magnet. Or perhaps you wake up in the middle of the night around the same time with no alarm necessary, just wide awake, feeling a sense of urgency. Is this all just coincidence? Or is something much deeper at play here? What if I told you that these strange little occurrences might be signs that you are, in fact, chosen for a higher purpose? An ilu, as they say, a chosen one. Imagine this. You're standing in line at a coffee shop minding your own business when someone behind you starts unloading their life story. There's something in your energy, in the way you hold space, that makes them feel safe to share. It's not because you're some sort of counselor or expert. It's because your energy radiates trust. People just feel it, even when they don't fully understand why. These aren't random encounters, though they may feel like it. No, these moments are the universe's way of giving you a nudge, telling you that you've got a gift that not everyone has. You're tuned into a frequency that allows others to open up in ways they can't with anyone else. But it doesn't stop there. Have you ever found yourself waking up at 3 a.m. every night? No matter what you do, you just can't seem to sleep through this time. Strange, right? This is more than just an odd sleep pattern. It's a signal. You see, the time between 3 and 4 a.m. is often called the witching hour, or the hour of divine connection, a time when the veil between the physical world and the spiritual realm is at its thinnest. It's during these moments that the universe might be trying to get your attention, whispering secrets or dropping guidance. And instead of ignoring it, you can lean in and embrace these wake-up calls as opportunities to listen more deeply to your soul. The quiet, the stillness. It's like the universe is creating space for you to tune into something bigger. Now let's talk about your intuition. You've probably experienced that gut feeling, the one that tells you something isn't right before it even happens. Maybe you predicted something small, like a friend's breakup, or maybe something bigger, like a financial decision that turned out to be a mistake. That's your intuition, your spiritual compass. It's your inner guidance system, the one that works even when logic can't make sense of things. If you've ever had that feeling that something was about to happen, that's your intuitive power kicking in. It's not random. It's your connection to a higher frequency, one that can help guide you through life with more clarity. But there's more. Have you noticed how children and animals are naturally drawn to you? It's like they can sense something you're not even aware of, something beyond your outer appearance. When animals like a dog or even a bird just seem to trust you instantly, that's a sign of your spiritual energy. It's almost like they can see the light within you. Kids, too, have a way of gravitating toward people who carry an authentic, unspoken energy. They don't judge, they don't question, they simply know. In many cultures, animals are considered messengers, and this is your spiritual confirmation that you are on the right path. But here's the thing. If you've been feeling different from everyone else, like you don't quite fit in, it's not a coincidence. You're probably an ilu, someone with a higher purpose, someone who's meant to walk a path that others can't quite understand. While most people get lost in the noise of daily life, you're drawn to something deeper. You ask the big questions. Why am I here? What's my purpose? How can I make the world a better place? These aren't casual thoughts. These are the thoughts that shape your journey and set you apart from the crowd. Of course, being different doesn't always feel great. It can feel isolating at times, like you're on a path that no one else can follow. But that's part of being chosen for something greater. The solitude you might feel. It's not a curse, it's a space for self-reflection, for connecting to your higher self and understanding your purpose more deeply. And you're not truly alone. Whether you feel it or not, you're always supported by the universe, by divine guidance, and by your spiritual team. Every strange encounter, every moment of intuition, every connection with animals or children, these are all signs pointing you in the direction of something bigger. You're not here to just go through the motions of life. You're here to thrive, to make an impact, and to awaken to a greater sense of purpose. The best part? These signs are just the beginning of your spiritual awakening journey. What comes next is even more transformative. Stick around, because in the next part of this video, we're going to dive deep into the spiritual awakening process itself. Trust me, you won't want to miss this next step of your journey. It's going to blow your mind. All right, let's get real. Ever have one of those moments where life suddenly feels bigger? Like you're sitting in traffic, scrolling on your phone, or just sipping coffee, and bam, it hits you. There's got to be more to this. That's the start, my friend. Welcome to the wild, weird, and wonderful world of spiritual awakening. So, What is a spiritual awakening exactly? Think of it like this. You've been cruising through life on autopilot, following the usual script. Go to school, get a job, pay bills, rinse, repeat. But then something happens. Maybe it's a breakup that leaves you questioning everything. Maybe you lose someone close, or maybe it's nothing dramatic at all. Just this persistent nudge in your gut saying, wake up. Whatever the trigger, you start to see the cracks in the matrix. And once you do, there's no unseeing it. At first, it's kinda disorienting. You start noticing things you've never noticed before, like how fake people can be or how disconnected we all are from nature. You might feel a little out of place, like you've been plucked out of a Netflix rom-com and dropped into a David Lynch film, but don't freak out. This is all part of the process. Let's break it down. How do you know you're having a spiritual awakening? For starters, your priorities start shifting. The stuff that used to feel super important, climbing the corporate ladder, flexing on Instagram, or even keeping up with every little drama, suddenly feels meh. Instead, you're craving something deeper. You want meaning, connection, purpose. It's like your soul's hit the reset button, and you're finally paying attention to what really matters. Then there's the weird synchronicities. Oh, you know what I'm talking about. You think about an old friend and boom, they text you out of nowhere. Or you're debating a big decision and a random song on the radio seems to spell it out for you. These coincidences aren't random. They're the universe sliding into your DMs, letting you know you're on the right track. Pay attention. But here's the catch. Spiritual awakening isn't all rainbows and good vibes. Nope, it can get messy. There's this thing called the dark night of the soul, and let me tell you, it's no joke. Picture this. You're shedding old beliefs, toxic relationships, and patterns that don't serve you anymore. It's like cleaning out your emotional closet, but instead of Marie Kondoing your sweaters, you're letting go of who you thought you were. Spoiler alert, it can hurt. You might feel lost, confused, or even a little depressed. And that's okay. It's like breaking in a new pair of shoes. It's uncomfortable at first, but once you settle into it, you're unstoppable. Remember, growth doesn't happen in your comfort zone. This is the universe stretching you, preparing you for the next level. One of the coolest parts of awakening is how your connection to the world around you deepens. Nature, for example, starts to feel less like a backdrop and more like a living, breathing entity. You're not just hiking for the gram anymore. You're noticing how the trees seem to pulse with life, how the wind feels like a whisper in your ear. It's like you've been given a VIP pass to the universe's most exclusive show. And let's talk about relationships, because oh boy, those will change too. When you start waking up, you might notice that some people in your life just don't vibe with you anymore. Maybe they're stuck in negativity, or maybe they just don't get where you're coming from. It can be tough, especially if these are people you've been close to for years. But here's the deal. Not everyone's meant to come with you on this journey. And that's not shade, it's just life. At the same time, you'll start attracting new people, your soul tribe, as some call it. These are the ones who get you. No explanations needed. They're the ones who'll sit with you at 2 a.m. talking about the meaning of life instead of gossiping about the latest celebrity breakup. Treasure these people. They're rare. So, how do you lean into your awakening without totally losing your mind? First, give yourself grace. There's no right or wrong way to do this. Some people dive into meditation or yoga. Others find their peace in music, art, or even just taking long walks. Do what feels good for you. Second, stay curious. Read books, listen to podcasts, watch YouTube videos, whatever fuels your hunger for knowledge. But don't get too caught up in the search for answers. Sometimes, the best thing you can do is just sit with the questions and let them marinate. And finally, trust the process. I know, it sounds cliche, but it's true. Awakening isn't a straight path. It's more like a roller coaster. There will be highs where you feel like you're on top of the world, and lows where you wonder if you're losing it. Ride the waves. Every twist and turn is teaching you something valuable. Before we wrap this up, let's address the elephant in the room. Awakening can make you feel like an outsider. While everyone else seems content with the status quo, you're over here questioning the very fabric of reality. But here's the thing, you're not alone. Millions of people are waking up right now just like you. We're all part of something bigger, a shift toward a more conscious, connected way of living. So, what's next? How do you take this newfound awareness and turn it into something tangible? That's where the real magic happens. Stick around, because in the next part we'll dive into the unique qualities that make you, well, you, and how to harness them to change the game. All right, let's get down to it. You're built different. Yeah, I said it. You've got something about you that stands out, and deep down you know it too. But maybe, just maybe, you've been sleeping on your own greatness. Don't worry though, that stops now. Let's talk about your unique qualities. What makes you you and how to embrace them like the boss you are. First off, let's clear the air. Being unique doesn't mean you're some kind of outcast or weirdo. Nah, it means you've got a vibe that can't be replicated. It's like you're the rare limited edition sneaker everyone wants but can't find. And yeah, maybe not everyone will get you, but that's their loss, not yours. The tricky thing is, most of us spend way too much time trying to fit in. Think back to middle school. Remember how everyone wanted the same clothes, the same haircut, the same everything? Ripe to all the cringy fashion trends we thought were fire back then. We're trained to blend in from the jump because standing out feels risky. What if people judge you? What if you fail? But here's the truth, blending in is overrated. Real growth, real magic, happens when you own your quirks and lean into your authenticity. So how do you figure out what makes you unique? Start by asking yourself this. What lights you up, like seriously? What's the thing you could do for hours without getting bored? Maybe you're the friend who always knows the perfect meme to send in the group chat, or the one who can whip up a killer playlist for any mood. Maybe you've got a knack for fixing stuff, or you're that person who can talk to strangers like they're old friends. Those little things, that's your secret sauce. Here's the kicker. Your unique qualities don't have to be big, flashy, or obvious. You don't have to be the next Picasso or Elon Musk to make an impact. Sometimes the quietest talents, like being a good listener or having a calming presence, are the most powerful. Think about it. When was the last time someone really listened to you without interrupting or checking their phone? Exactly. Being present is a superpower, and not enough people realize it. Now let's get real about why it's so hard to embrace our uniqueness. A lot of it comes down to fear. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of looking dumb. But let me hit you with some truth. Every single person you admire has failed at something. Beyoncé's first girl group? Flopped. Michael Jordan? Cut from his high school basketball team. J.K. Rowling? Rejected by a dozen publishers before Harry Potter blew up. The difference between them and most people? They didn't quit. So here's your reminder. It's okay to fail. In fact, it's necessary. Failure is just another word for learning, and every time you mess up, you're actually leveling up. Embracing your unique qualities means stepping out of your comfort zone, even if it's scary. And let's not forget the haters. Oh, they're out there, all right, the people who will roll their eyes, doubt you, or try to bring you down. Here's a pro tip. Most of the time, their negativity has nothing to do with you and everything to do with their own insecurities. Misery loves company, but you don't have to RSVP to that party. Instead, let their doubt fuel you. Prove them wrong, not because you owe them anything, but because you owe it to yourself to shine. Okay, let's switch gears and talk about how to use your unique qualities for good. Because let's be honest, the world could use a little more light right now. When you tap into what makes you special, you're not just doing it for yourself, you're doing it for the people around you too. Think about this. Every single invention, piece of art, or groundbreaking idea started with someone who dared to think differently. The Wright brothers didn't build airplanes by playing it safe. Rosa Parks didn't spark a movement by going with the flow. Steve Jobs didn't revolutionize technology by copying what everyone else was doing. They leaned into their uniqueness and changed the game. You don't have to be a world-famous trailblazer to make a difference, though. Sometimes the ripple effect starts small. Maybe you inspire someone with your kindness, or you make someone's day with your humor. Maybe your unique perspective helps solve a problem no one else could crack. Never underestimate the power of showing up as your authentic self. It's contagious in the best way. Now, let's talk about protecting your vibe. When you start embracing what makes you unique, you'll attract people who resonate with your energy. These are your people, your ride or dies, the ones who see your potential, even on your off days. But you'll also need to set boundaries. Not everyone deserves access to your energy, and that's not being selfish, that's self-care. Here's a little exercise for you. Write down 3 things that make you different. Don't overthink it, just go with your gut. Maybe it's your sense of humor, your work ethic, or your ability to stay calm under pressure. Once you've got your list, think about how you can lean into those traits more. How can you bring more of you into everything you do? And hey, don't forget to celebrate your wins. It's easy to downplay your accomplishments or brush off compliments, but nah, give yourself credit where it's due. You're out here doing your thing, breaking molds, and being unapologetically you. That deserves a round of applause, and maybe a little dance break. Treat yourself. Before we wrap this up, let me leave you with this. Your uniqueness isn't just a random fluke. It's your gift, your edge, your ticket to making an impact. So stop trying to be like everyone else and start being more of who you already are, because here's the thing, no one else can do it like you can. Now that you've got a handle on what makes you unique, the next step is figuring out how to take those qualities and turn them into a force for good. In the next part, we'll dive into how you can use your gifts to make a positive impact, not just in your life, but in the world around you. Trust me, you won't want to miss this. All right? Buckle up, because now we're talking about something real, something that hits deep. Let's dive into how you, yes, you, can make a positive impact on this world. You've got all this unique potential and energy, and it's time to use it for something bigger than yourself. Ready to shake things up? Let's go. First things first, let's clear up a misconception. Making a difference doesn't mean you need to be the next Elon Musk or Beyoncé. You don't have to cure diseases or change the world overnight. Nah, the impact you can have is way more subtle and far-reaching than you think. Sometimes, it's the small, everyday actions that make all the difference. Think about it. How many times has someone done something simple for you, like held the door open or sent you a nice text when you were having a bad day? Those little acts of kindness stick with you, right? Well, guess what? You can do that too. You can start small and still make a huge impact. It's the vibe you put out, the energy you share with the people around you, that really counts. Now you might be thinking, okay, but I don't have time to volunteer at a shelter or start a charity. How can I really make a difference? Well, hold up, because here's the kicker. You don't need a whole lot of time or resources to create ripples of change. A kind word, a random act of generosity, even a smile, these things matter. And honestly, they're contagious. You'd be surprised how far a little kindness can go. For instance, think back to the last time you helped someone out with something small, like letting them cut in line or sharing your lunch. That person probably didn't forget it, right? Now imagine if you did that every single day for different people. The world would be a whole lot nicer, wouldn't it? And even if they don't say thank you, know this. Your kindness didn't go unnoticed. It's like planting seeds, and trust me, those seeds will grow. But here's the thing. Making a positive impact doesn't have to always be obvious. It's not all about big public gestures. Sometimes it's the behind-the-scenes stuff that counts. Think about the people who uplift others without seeking the spotlight. Those are the real MVPs. The friend who listens when you're having a rough time, the mentor who offers advice without expecting anything in return. These are the people quietly changing lives in ways we often take for granted. You don't need to be a hero to make a difference. You just need to show up. And speaking of showing up, let's talk about consistency. Look, anyone can have a good day, do something nice for someone and feel great about it. But what about the next day and the day after that? Real impact happens when you make kindness a part of your everyday routine. It's like building a habit. The more you show up for others, the more it becomes second nature. It's not about waiting for a perfect moment to make a difference. It's about making the most of the everyday moments you're already in. Okay, so now you're probably thinking, I get it, but how do I keep this momentum going? It's simple. By surrounding yourself with people who get it. When you're around others who are committed to positive change, it's like you're feeding off each other's energy. Kindness spreads, and being part of a community of good vibes is one of the best ways to keep yourself motivated. Whether it's your family, your friends, or even a random group of like-minded strangers, make sure you've got people who encourage you to do your best. But hey, let's talk about something real for a second. Doing good in the world can feel draining sometimes. You know, like you're putting so much into others and wondering if it's ever enough. Trust me, I get it. It's easy to burn out when you're constantly giving without getting much back. But here's where self-care comes in. Don't forget about you. If you're constantly pouring from an empty cup, you won't have anything left to give. So, take a step back when you need it. Recharge, reset, and then come back with that same energy to help others. Here's another thing to think about. Your unique impact doesn't have to be about saving people. It's about being there, being present, and lifting people up when they need it. You don't have to have all the answers or solve every problem. Sometimes it's enough to just be a good listener, a safe space for someone who's struggling. It's like that old saying, don't judge a book by its cover. You don't know what people are going through, and often they just need someone to show them they're not alone. Let's get practical for a minute. How can you make a positive impact today? Here are a few easy, everyday actions that can start a chain reaction of goodness. Compliment someone genuinely. It could be a co-worker, a random person on the street, or even a family member. It doesn't have to be anything deep, just a simple, "Hey, I like your shoes," can make someone's day. Offer help without being asked. If you see someone struggling, lend a hand. Whether it's holding the door open, offering a ride, or helping someone carry groceries, small gestures count. Check in on a friend or family member. Just send a quick text like, "Hey, how's everything going? I'm thinking about you." It shows you care, and sometimes that's all someone needs to hear. Spread positivity online. In a world where negativity can spread like wildfire, be the person who shares something uplifting. Post a motivational quote, a funny video, or just something that brings a smile. Give when you can. It doesn't always have to be money, but even small donations of items or time can make a big difference for those in need. Volunteer, donate, or find ways to help your community. Now, I'm not saying all this to make you feel guilty or pressure you into being a perfect human being. Nah, that's not the vibe. This is all about making the conscious decision to do better when you can. To make your mark in the world, one small step at a time. You might wonder, how will I ever know if I've really made a difference? Well, that's the thing. Sometimes you won't know, and that's okay. The real reward isn't the applause or recognition. It's the knowledge that you showed up as your true self and put good into the world. That's the real win. At the end of the day, life isn't about how many followers you have or how much money you make. It's about the positive legacy you leave behind. It's about the people who remember how you made them feel, the way you helped them through a tough time, or the way you made them laugh when they thought they couldn't anymore. So here's the deal. Start small. Don't wait for the perfect moment to make a big change. Make your change today, right now. Because if we all do a little bit of good, think about the kind of world we could create. We've got the power to make this place better, one simple action at a time. And with that, you've got the tools to go out and make a positive impact. You ready to change the world? I think you are. Stay tuned for the next part, where we'll dive into self-discovery and how to tap into the power of knowing yourself to keep this momentum going. Trust me, you don't want to miss it. Yo, it's time to get real with yourself, like real. If you've been following along, you know we've been talking about making an impact on the world, doing good, and just leveling up your whole vibe. But there's one major piece to the puzzle that we haven't tackled yet. You. That's right. The journey to making a difference in the world starts with discovering who you truly are. You might be like, self-discovery? That sounds all deep and heavy. And yeah, it kinda is, but it's also way more chill than you think. It's about figuring out who you are at your core, what lights you up, and how you can show up in a way that feels real to you. And trust me, once you figure that out, everything else falls into place. So let's get into it. What exactly is self-discovery, and why should you care about it? Self-discovery is all about getting to know yourself on a deeper level. It's about understanding your values, your passions, your strengths, and even your weaknesses. And I know it sounds a little cheesy, but think of it like this. How can you make a difference in the world if you don't even know who you are or what you stand for? Self-discovery is your map. It helps you navigate this whole crazy ride called life. Think of it like trying to figure out the plot of your favorite Netflix show. At first, it might feel confusing, like you're not sure where things are going. But once you start connecting the dots, everything starts to make sense. You start seeing the big picture, and boom, you're hooked. You can't stop watching. That's what self-discovery feels like. At first, it might be a little fuzzy, but the more you lean into it, the clearer it gets. And soon you'll be like, aha, this is me. This is who I'm supposed to be. But let's be real. Getting to know yourself isn't always easy. Sometimes you might feel like you're stuck in a rut, like you're just going through the motions and you have no idea what you're actually passionate about. And guess what? That's okay. A lot of people feel like that at some point. The key is to not get discouraged. You've got to keep pushing, keep exploring, and most importantly, keep listening to yourself. One of the biggest things that'll help you along this journey is to spend some time alone. I'm talking real alone time, not just scrolling through your phone or hanging out with your crew. I mean taking a step back, turning off the noise, and tuning into your thoughts. When you're by yourself, you can really start to hear your inner voice, the one that's been drowned out by distractions. Trust me, your gut has been trying to tell you something. You just need to give it the space to speak. Maybe that's why we all love those solo road trips or late-night walks, right? Those moments when you're just with yourself. No pressure, no rush, just thinking things through. It's in those quiet moments that you start to realize things about yourself, like what you love, what makes you tick, and what you absolutely can't stand. And honestly, getting in touch with that inner voice is one of the most powerful tools you have. Now, I'm not saying you have to be totally alone to figure this out. Self-discovery can happen when you're with people too. Sometimes just having the right conversations with the right folks can spark something in you. Ever had a conversation where you really felt heard, where the person was so present with you that it opened up new ideas or perspectives you hadn't considered before? That's the magic of connection. But again, it's about being real. You've got to be honest with yourself, and that's where the tough part comes in. Here's the deal. You've got to ask yourself the hard questions. Things like, what do I really want out of life? Am I doing this because I want to, or because I feel like I should? What are my deepest desires, and why am I not going after them? Getting clear on these things might not come overnight, but if you're willing to dive deep, you'll start uncovering parts of yourself that were buried under layers of expectations, fears, or even just old habits. So how do you actually start this self-discovery journey? Here's the scoop. Start with the small stuff, little experiments. Try new things. Pick up a new hobby. Travel somewhere solo. Read books that make you think, not just the ones that feel safe. Push yourself out of your comfort zone. When you challenge yourself in new ways, you'll start seeing pieces of yourself you never knew existed. Let's talk about one thing that can be a major roadblock to self-discovery: fear. Fear is like that annoying friend who always talks you out of doing what you know you need to do. You know, the one, nah, don't go for that job, you'll fail, or what if people judge you for doing this? Fear is sneaky. It shows up as doubts, insecurities, or excuses. But listen, if you don't confront that fear head-on, it'll hold you back from really knowing yourself. And trust me, you don't want to live your whole life wondering, what if? Fear is natural, but don't let it be the boss of you. Now, a big part of self-discovery is figuring out what you're really passionate about. What makes you feel alive? I'm not talking about the stuff that's trendy or what people tell you you should be into. Nah, I mean the stuff that makes you feel like you're in your element. Maybe it's art, maybe it's helping people, maybe it's solving problems. Whatever it is, it's about tuning into your heart, your soul, and that deep feeling that makes you say, yes, this is what I'm meant to do. But guess what? It's totally fine if you don't have it all figured out yet. Life's not a race. You don't have to have all the answers today, next week, or even next year. The key is to keep looking for it. Keep exploring. Don't settle. The journey of self-discovery isn't a straight line. It's more like a winding road with a ton of unexpected detours. And that's the beauty of it. Every step, every moment, is a chance to learn more about who you are and what you're capable of. And here's a huge takeaway. Self-discovery doesn't end. It's not like one day you'll just wake up and be like, I got it all figured out, I'm done. Nope. You're going to keep evolving as you grow, as you experience new things, as you face challenges. Your sense of self will shift, and that's completely okay. Life's a constant journey, and self-discovery is part of that ride. So how do you keep going? Keep checking in with yourself. Keep reflecting. Keep asking, who am I becoming? And what do I want out of this experience? It's all about staying in tune with who you are now, while also being open to who you could be tomorrow. In the end, self-discovery isn't a destination. It's the process of becoming. You're always in the process of uncovering new layers of yourself, and that's what makes life so exciting. Once you know who you are at your core, everything else in life starts to make sense. You'll find your direction, your purpose, and how you can best contribute to the world around you. So let's keep this train rolling. You've got the tools to dig deep and get to know yourself. Now keep going. You've got this. And when we pick up next time, we'll talk about growth, because once you discover who you are, the next step is leveling up and growing into the best version of yourself. Stay tuned and keep that self-discovery fire burning. All right, so now that we've talked about self-discovery, let's get into the next big chapter, growth. This is the part where you start leveling up, like really taking things to the next level and becoming the best version of yourself. But here's the thing, personal growth isn't some overnight thing. It's not like you wake up one day and suddenly everything's perfect. Nah, it's more like a slow burn, a constant evolution that happens one step at a time. And trust me, that's exactly how it's supposed to be. Let's keep it real. Personal growth is about constantly becoming better, but also learning to embrace where you're at right now. You see, a lot of people get caught up in thinking they have to change everything about themselves. They think, I'm not good enough as I am, and they start chasing some perfect version of themselves that doesn't even exist. But here's the truth. Personal growth isn't about changing who you are. It's about becoming more of who you truly are. It's about shedding the things that don't serve you and stepping into the real you. You might be thinking, okay, cool, But where do I even start with this whole growth thing? It all starts with a mindset shift. You've got to adopt the belief that growth is possible, no matter where you are or what you've been through. You might be sitting there thinking, but I've messed up so many times, or I'm not where I want to be. Guess what? That's normal. Growth doesn't come from perfection. It comes from the lessons you learn along the way, from the mistakes, from the grind. You'll fall down, but it's about getting back up and taking one more step forward. One of the first things you've got to get real with is your habits. Habits are everything when it comes to growth. They either set you up for success or drag you down. If you're constantly repeating the same old habits that keep you stuck in the same place, then you're not going to grow. But if you start making small, intentional changes to your daily routine, you'll start to see massive shifts. It doesn't have to be a huge overhaul all at once. No need to try and change everything overnight. Just start small. Add a morning routine, start reading a book every month, or work on your fitness for just 20 minutes a day. Baby steps, but steps in the right direction. Here's the thing about growth. It's uncomfortable. If you're not uncomfortable at least a little bit, you're not growing. Think about it. Every time you've leveled up in life, it probably wasn't easy. It wasn't all rainbows and butterflies. It was tough. It challenged you. And that's how you know you're growing. If things feel too easy, it's time to push yourself harder. That discomfort, that feeling of stretching yourself, is a sign that you're breaking through old limits. You're stepping out of your comfort zone, and that's exactly where the magic happens. But here's where a lot of people mess up. They hit a bump in the road, and instead of pushing through it, they stop. They get discouraged. They think, maybe I'm just not cut out for this. Don't fall into that trap. Growth isn't linear. It's messy. Some days you're going to feel like you're on top of the world, and other days you'll feel like you're back at square one. That's normal. It's part of the process. You've got to be patient with yourself and trust that the hard work you're putting in is paying off, even when it doesn't feel like it. So let's talk about how you can actively start growing. First things first, you've got to challenge your mindset. Start telling yourself that you can achieve whatever it is you set your mind to. I'm talking about real belief in yourself. I know it's easy to get caught up in self-doubt, especially when things aren't going your way. But if you don't believe that you can grow, you won't. Plain and simple. Start telling yourself, I'm capable of growth, I can improve, I'm always getting better. It's all about the little things you tell yourself every day. Your thoughts shape your reality. Another major key to growth is feedback. A lot of people think they can grow in isolation, but that's just not the case. You need people in your corner who can give you real feedback. And I'm not talking about yes men who tell you everything you want to hear. Nah, I mean the people who challenge you, who push you, who hold you accountable. Surround yourself with people who want to see you win, but aren't afraid to call you out when you need it. That's how you grow, by learning from others, by seeing your blind spots, and by getting better because of it. One thing that really fuels personal growth is consistency. It's the little things you do every single day that add up over time. Think about working out. You're not going to get in shape by going hard for one day and then chilling for the next week. It's all about showing up every day, even when you don't feel like it. Same thing with growth. It's about showing up every day for yourself, doing the work, staying committed, and being patient with the process. The results might not be instant, but trust me, if you stay consistent, they will come. And here's the part that a lot of people don't talk about. Growth isn't just about achieving goals. It's also about enjoying the ride. It's about learning to love the process, even when it feels tough. I know, it's easy to get caught up in the destination. We all want that end result we're aiming for. But the truth is, the journey itself is where the growth happens. It's where you develop your strength, your resilience, and your character. If you can learn to love the grind, to appreciate the small wins along the way, that's when the real transformation happens. Let's also talk about failure for a second. Most people fear failure. They try to avoid it at all costs. But here's the thing, failure is part of the game. It's not something to be afraid of. It's a necessary part of growth. If you're not failing, you're not pushing yourself hard enough. Each failure is a lesson, a stepping stone to something better. So stop running from it. Instead, embrace it, learn from it, and keep moving forward, because growth doesn't happen without it. Now, one of the most important parts of personal growth is knowing when to pivot. Sometimes you'll reach a point where what you're doing isn't working anymore, and that's okay. It doesn't mean you failed. It just means it's time for a change. You've outgrown your current path, and it's time to switch things up. That's not a sign of weakness, that's a sign of strength. It takes courage to admit that something's not working and take a new direction. and that's the kind of courage you need to grow. Lastly, remember that personal growth is a lifelong journey. It doesn't stop when you hit one milestone. There's always more to learn, more to experience, and more to grow into. It's about continually evolving, leveling up, and becoming the person you're meant to be. So don't get discouraged when it feels slow, and don't think you have to have it all figured out right now. Just keep taking those small steps, keep growing, and trust that everything will unfold as it's meant to. And with that, we've reached the end of this chapter. But let me tell you something. Your journey is just getting started. The growth you're about to experience, it's going to be wild, and I'm here for it. Keep grinding, keep pushing, and keep believing in yourself. You're capable of way more than you think. Stay tuned because this ride is far from over.